There's a mistake a lot of men make in relationships. They think cheating is random. They think it just happens. Wrong. Cheating follows patterns, not just in behavior, but in personality, because certain traits, when left unchecked, almost always lead to the same outcome. And if you don't recognize those traits early, you won't just be surprised, you'll be blindsided. Now listen carefully. This isn't about labeling every woman. This is about understanding patterns that repeat themselves. Because when you see these patterns clearly, you stop walking into the same situation over and over again. So let's break down the types of women that are most likely to cheat, so you can move smarter. Type 1, the constant attention seeker. This one is obvious, but still overlooked. She needs validation, not sometimes, not occasionally, constantly. She posts for reactions, thrives on compliments, always wants to be noticed. And at first, it feels harmless. You think, she just likes attention. But here's the reality. Attention is addictive. And when one source stops being enough, she looks for more. More messages, more compliments, more people showing interest. And eventually, that attention doesn't stay online. It becomes real. Because validation that isn't controlled always escalates. Type 2, the one with no clear boundaries. Pay attention to this one because it doesn't look dangerous at first. She's friendly, open, easy to talk to. But when you look closer, there are no limits. Male friends texting at any time, conversations that cross lines, situations that feel too familiar. And when you bring it up, you're overthinking. They're just friends. But boundaries aren't about intention. They're about prevention. And when boundaries don't exist, lines get crossed, not always immediately, but eventually, because access without limits always creates opportunity. Type 3, the one who gets bored easily. This one is dangerous in a different way, because everything starts strong. She's excited, engaged, all in, but over time, it fades. Not because you did something wrong, but because she craves novelty, new experiences, new emotions, new stimulation. Routine feels like restriction. Consistency feels like boredom. So what happens? She starts looking for something that feels new again. And that new often comes in the form of someone else. Because to her, it's not about commitment. It's about feeling. Type 4, the one who avoids accountability. This one will never admit fault. Not clearly. Not directly. Every issue becomes someone else's responsibility. Every mistake gets explained away. Every concern gets flipped back on you. If you didn't do this, I wouldn't feel that. You caused this. Now think about that. If someone never takes responsibility, what happens when they cross a serious line? They justify it. They explain it. They rewrite the situation to protect themselves. So instead of owning the behavior, they make it make sense. And that's where cheating becomes easier, because accountability was never part of the equation. Type 5, the one with a history she downplays. Past behavior matters, not in a judgmental way, but in a realistic way. Pay attention to how she talks about her past. If every relationship ended the same way, but it's always not her fault, that's a pattern. If she casually mentions overlapping situations, but brushes them off, that's information. And if you ignore it, you're choosing comfort over clarity, because people don't randomly become different overnight. They repeat what they haven't addressed. Type 6, the one who thrives on secrecy. Some people don't just hide things. They enjoy it. The mystery, the privacy, the control. She keeps parts of her life separate, not for safety, but for independence from accountability. You don't fully know her circle. Her routines feel selective. Information comes in pieces, not clarity. And when you ask questions, you don't get direct answers, because transparency isn't her default. Now combine that with opportunity, and secrecy becomes the perfect environment for things to happen unnoticed. Type 7, the one who constantly compares. This one is subtle, but powerful. She compares you to other men, to past experiences, to things she sees online, and it's not always direct. Sometimes it's small comments, small observations, small suggestions, but over time, it creates dissatisfaction because comparison shifts focus from appreciation to evaluation. And when someone is always evaluating, they start looking for better, not necessarily because you're lacking, but because their mindset is always searching. And that search can easily lead outside the relationship. Now listen carefully. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness, because the biggest mistake you can make is ignoring patterns just because everything feels good in the moment. Attraction can blind you. Comfort can distract you. But patterns always reveal the truth over time. So your job isn't to control anyone. It's to observe clearly and decide what you're willing to deal with. Because once you understand these types, you stop being surprised and you start making better decisions. If this gave you a new perspective, don't just watch and leave. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment and tell me which one stood out to you. And most importantly, watch the next video on your screen right now, because recognizing patterns is just step 1. Knowing how to handle them, that's where things change. I'll see you there.